Good afternoon, America and the rest of the world. Xander J. Hobson here, comedian, director, and producer of boxing documentaries, and troll to those who need trolling. This here is another episode of The Devil's Advocate, brought to you by the Brilliant Artist Movement. I'm trying to grow this platform, so please subscribe, like this video, share it, and by all means, leave a comment in the comments section. But I enjoy checking out the feedback from these videos that I make, as well as exchanging opinions and points of views with you all. Now, I cannot stress enough, I need you to hit the like and the share button, as well as subscribe. It has been brought to my attention that the notifications for my videos are not going out to all my subscribers. Fancy that. So anyway, I'm a little bit late to the dance in regards to the arrest of the murderer of Tupac Shakur. Keefe D getting on the internet and talking about his participation in the murder of one Tupac Shakur. Now, all of this was started by Officer Greg Kadings, and Keefe D got himself caught up in some type of legal problems, and as a result of that, Keefe D ended up talking about the murder of Tupac Shakur. He was given some type of amnesty to speak about the murder, and as a result of that, he was able to get off. But when Officer Kadings started talking about the murder of Tupac Shakur and naming Keefe D as a guy who gave some information regarding the murder, Keefe D called himself trying to get out in front of it by giving his spin on what happened. But at the end of the day, Keefe D's spin ended up landing him in jail. The only thing that I can say about Keefe D is good riddance. You know, you figure a man who has made it a policy of a lifetime to be a criminal he would have been very careful about what he said in a public forum. In fact, his best course of action would have been to keep his mouth shut. Hey, let it be a lesson to anyone who wants to be in a life of crime. The only way the fish gets caught is by opening his mouth. So, in following this whole Tupac Shakur murder case being solved, I've happened upon a whole heaping of characters. Fellas by the name of Gene Deal, of course Keefe D. I didn't know anything about him. Then Suge Knight was, in on this thing in some way, shape, or form. I was listening to an interview with Officer Kadings, and Officer Kadings said Suge Knight could have solved that murder in the minimum amount of time, but because Suge Knight adheres to the code of the streets, basically the code of the streets being we don't snitch, it took nearly 30 years to solve the murder. I heard a lot of people talking about Puff Daddy's involvement in the murder of Tupac Shakur, and Officer Kadings pretty much said the same thing that I was thinking. More than likely, Puff Daddy didn't have anything to do with the murder of Tupac Shakur. Sure, he probably wanted harm to befall Suge Knight and Tupac because he was having problems out of the both of them. But as far as Puff Daddy being actually involved in the murder of Tupac Shakur, no way, Jose. I tend to agree with Officer Kadings. If Tupac Shakur wouldn't have participated in the attack on Orlando Anderson, I'm not sure what the kid's name is, Tupac Shakur wouldn't have gotten killed that night.
60-year-old Dwayne Keefe D. Davis is a longtime self-professed leader of the Southside Compton Crips, According to a Nevada grand jury indictment, Davis was big in the drug trade, which elevated his status within the gang. He rose to infamy as the only living witness to Tupac Shakur's killing in the suspect vehicle. Just a few days prior to the shooting near the Las Vegas Strip, the Southside Crips took a necklace chain from a Death Row Records label member at the Lakewood Mall in California. Rap label Death Row Records had ties to rival gang, the Mob Piru in Compton. That led to an incident with Davis's nephew, Orlando Anderson, in Las Vegas.
Members of Death Row Records spotted Orlando Anderson near an elevator bank inside the MGM, and at that time they began to kick and punch him.
According to Metro Police, after the beating, Davis then devised a plan to retaliate.
It's not to say that Tupac wouldn't have got himself killed at a later date, because Tupac Shakur went from being a talented entertainer to sampling the lifestyle of a gangbanger. And Tupac had absolutely no business in that lane. Again, reason why Tupac got in an accident and got himself killed was because he didn't stay in his lane. Now, at the end of the day, one of the things that I've learned from following this whole debacle, I was saddened to hear about the sequence of events that led up to the death of Biggie Smalls. I liked Biggie Smalls. I thought he was a very talented entertainer. And Biggie was just my guy. I mean, I really liked him. Most of the things that I've been hearing about leading up to the death or the murder of Biggie Smalls came by way of a fella by the name of Gene Deal. This Gene Deal fella, he's a cool guy. You know, sometimes you can look at a person and you say, yo, man, that guy's a friend in my mind. More than likely, if I met that dude, me and him would be okay. And that's how I feel about Gene. Gene appears to be a great guy, and I really like Gene. And I could hear the pain in Gene's voice when he was summing up the sequence of events that led to the death of Biggie Smalls. I was very disappointed to hear how negligent Puff Daddy was in regards to the intel that Gene had received from, I believe it was the fella Mecca Audio, who was in jail at the time. Like, hey man, these dudes is coming to see y'all. And the comments that Puffy made about he don't care who died, it's just, that broke my heart, because again, I'm not really a fanboy of anyone, but along the way, I became quite fond of Puff Daddy, as well as Suge Knight. You know, my position being, these are a couple of black guys that's out here that's just making it happen. I was very disappointed at Suge because, in my opinion, Suge was getting too much money to be carrying on like a common thug. And, you know, to sum it all up, in regards to Suge Knight, I learned about this Poochie fella. You know, I know a whole bunch of guys by the name of Poochie, at least 3 that I can think of. And to hear that the murderer of Biggie Smalls could possibly be a guy named Poochie, you know, all of that stuff was a lot to digest. So, you know, these are my thoughts on the matter. You know, it's just, I'm not saying anything that nobody else hasn't already said before. I'm just giving my take on all the things that I've heard thus far following this matter. And it was all a lot to digest, and I really found it very, very sad. I came up, you know, just like a lot of these guys, and in order to sidestep that kind of madness that was going on between Death Row and Bad Boys, I joined the military, and I just like totally stepped away from that kind of stuff. It was, to be quite frank, it was stuff that I found embarrassing, because no way on God's green earth should millionaires be shooting at one another and trying to kill each other. So, this is pretty much my thoughts and what I was thinking about. Again, this whole thing is all sad. It was black on black violence. Now, if I can say one thing, one good thing that came out of my research for the death of Tupac Shakur and as well as the death of Biggie Smalls, I learned about a fella from up New York by the name of Eric Von Zip. And let me tell you, from everything that I heard about this Zip fella, he was a hell of a guy. And in my opinion, the reason why I believe his name is Eric Martin, aka Eric Von Zip, the reason why Zip was such a cool guy is because his name was Von Zip. Listen, let me tell you something. You got to be a hell of a dude to walk around with Vaughn in the middle of your name or attached to your name in some way, shape, or form. And it sounds to me like this Eric Von Zip fella, he lived up to the Vaughn in his name. The only other person that I can think of off the top of my head with Von in his name, I'm saying Vaughn, but it's Von. Vaughn's a pretty cool name too, but Von. The only other Von that I can think of is Dr. Victor Von Doom. And again, it seems to me that this Zip fella, he lived up to the Von in his name the same way Victor Von Doom lived up to the Von in his. So with that said, folks, I'm done with it.